Hey everybody, welcome back. So today's episode is going to be a little bit controversial, so buckle up. I'm just kidding. It's just that this particular topic, when it gets brought up a lot, has a lot of misconceived notions about it and about it within the healing aspect and what does that actually look like. So um, when the, I hate when people say this, okay? I'm sure you've probably heard it. And it's when, you attract, everything into your life and you're like, well, people that have suffered from cancer and different things like that, like, I didn't attract that, but you did. And here's what I'm gonna tell you. You didn't attract that specific thing, okay? But just like everything has a frequency. Everything has this energetic vibration around it, and or about it, I guess would be a better description. And when so let's start here. Let's think of some words, okay, that are kind of polarizing for a lot of people. Fat. Okay, when you hear the word fat, notice that you have all of these different attachments to that word, whether that be that you have maybe felt quote unquote fat before, or you've been teased for being overweight, or you struggle with your weight, or you actually have an eating disorder because you think that you are quote unquote fat, but you're not, right? There's all these different ways in which the word fat, I know I worked with someone one time that word was not allowed in their house. The kids were not allowed to say it, nothing. So it's something that, especially for, I feel like a lot of women and men, but because women's bodies are so objectified, that word is very polarizing for a lot of people. Okay. Lots of feelings arise during that. So now I want you to think of the word sexy. Okay. The word sexy. How do you feel? What are some of the images? What are some of the things? Okay. So we've just said fat, and we have said sexy. Did you associate the same images? Did one give you a feeling of kind of like disgust, whether it be one or the other? How did they felt different? Just hearing the words, you feel different. Okay, and this is kind of what I want to lead into, is to talk about this and teach about this, is that you attract everything into your sphere because they all have beliefs and energetic ties to them. Okay, so again, those are all words that have to do with our bodies, right? But what about words like smart and different things like that have to do with our minds? Smart, you automatically go to like, oh, a high achiever, a well-paying job, somebody in a suit, something like that. Is that your idea of smart? Everybody's is different. And that's where some of this, where we really have to approach wellness and healing in a very, very individualistic way, is because even though we all experience a similar world, right? Like, I live in my house, I live with, my fiance, my two kids, like we all experience a similar dynamic in the home, right? We all live together, but we all have very separate experiences. And your health, your healing, your wholeness is going to be the same, because every single word has attachments to it. Every single time somebody makes a comment to you, you interact in any type of conversation or experience or anything like that, it affects your vibration every single time. Think about if you spill coffee on your shirt, right? It changes your mood, so to speak, but really your vibration. You're like, oh, this is how it starts. I'm just going to have a bad day, right? Have you already decided that you're going to have a bad day because of that one thing? Because that one thing you associate with having a bad day. So this is how this attracting some negative experiences into your life happen. Not that you are seeking those out. Very different. I want to clarify. And I know I'll get a lot of backlash because that's just how it is that when people like to identify with, like, no, this happened to me. People like to identify with being kind of this victim of an experience. Not that you went out seeking to have cancer or seeking sexual trauma or seeking any of these things. You did not go and actually physically choose them. Energetically, though, you made choices. Or you chose, if you've listened to my episode in reincarnation, and then people are like, well, what about, kids that have cancer? They didn't choose that. They don't deserve that. They didn't attract that. No. But, okay, when you understand reincarnation, if you choose to come to Earth knowing that a certain set of experiences are likely to happen, and you want to have a certain experience so you can learn something, you choose to incarnate into a body that will provide you those experiences. So even in childhood, adverse childhood experiences. So this can be, again, physical abuse, emotional abuse, neglect, all of those things. Now, you did not, as a child, do anything wrong to choose that. You didn't choose that in this physical current life, but your soul chose this physical body because those experiences will give you something that you may need later on. Maybe you need to learn something from those experiences. And it's probably not going to be apparent during the experiences. That's usually not how you learn, right? You usually aren't in the midst of learning like a really long algebraic equation and you're like, I understand it all now, right? Usually you have to get about 2 or 3 steps ahead to then feel like, oh, that makes sense now. Aha. There are a lot of things that have happened in my life, and if you have not already listened to my story, I go in much deeper detail in some of the podcasts. So if you're not already listening on the Eat, Pray, Slay podcast or haven't listened to those episodes, please go back and listen to them. I've had a lot of experiences that people are like, how are you, like, you're so kind, you're so nice, you're so grounded. How are you still that way given the kind of quote unquote cards you've been dealt? And when you look at it from this perspective of, especially now, it is so interesting to me, the kinds of people that I attract into my circle, especially the clients that I attract. A lot of them have very similar experiences that that are maybe not something that I shared publicly, but energetically, the way that I spoke, the way that I showed up, the way that we interacted, created a deeper connection that then they're like, you know what, you're the person to help me with healing. And then when we really dive deep into what they're working through, I'm like, that's something that I've worked through. They had no idea. And that's kind of how energy works in that way. Sometimes attracting an adverse or negative experience into your life is so that way you can begin to, a lot of people when they have something like cancer or something like that, they're like, I feel like I have this new perspective on life. And that's not just a saying. They begin to look at life differently. They begin to feel like it's more precious, more valuable. They slow down, they take their time, they really invest in relationships, they invest in experiences, they want to go and see things and do things and really participate in their own life rather than being kind of this passive, you get a job, you go to school, you do this, you get married, you have kids, and right, following this protocol. And so it's not to say that you choose these things, but when you look at some of the ways that you are living, some of the ways that you're choosing, some of the ways that you interact with people. So if you've ever read When the Body Says No, it is an incredible book. I can try and link it below for you. It's an incredible book, but it also talks about kind of a lot of diseases and different things have a personality to them, which is so interesting, right? Fibromyalgia, where especially these autoimmune diseases are really common in people that are people pleasers, overgivers. They're constantly doing other things for other people, but never meeting their own needs. They overgive. They find themselves in relationships where not intentionally taken advantage of, but this is what I'm talking about, where they've attracted a partner or friendships where they are a lot of the doer. They do a lot, they give a lot, they all these things, and then they attract relationships where the other person does not do the same. They're expecting that if they give, sorry, there was like a fly in my face, that if they give a certain amount, then the other person is going to mirror that 50-50. And that's not true, right? That it's always like, if you're always trying to come to 100%, and if you're giving 80, well, there's only 20 more percent to give. And then it's complete, it's full. That's how relationships work. And that's how a lot of these dynamics work energetically, is that you're trying to create harmony. Well, harmony doesn't come from both people giving 80. That'll clash because it's too much energy. But somebody who's an overgiver will find relationships that undergive. So that way it creates a complement. It's harmonious. And so when we look at some of these frequencies, we really do pick up on people's frequencies, as well as when we think of language that we choose. Start to notice not only one of the things that I have found to be most interesting that I've kind of naturally done, and I didn't really realize until later, was that when my daughter was born, I used to be a huge fan, Law and Order, SVU, okay? Love me some Elliot, and what was it, Mariska Hargitay? I can't remember, I think that's her name. I can't remember what her, Olivia, that was her character. Loved it. I mean, I would watch it all the time. But when you think about what is that, it's a lot of abuse, it's a lot of violence, and it's a lot of rape, different things like this, where it is literally abusing people and children and women in particular. And when I had my daughter, when I tell you, it was so emotional. I remember afterwards trying to watch an episode, and I was like, I physically cannot watch this anymore. It is so disturbing. And at this point, I wasn't doing healing work. Like, I didn't know what that was, because my daughter is almost 13 now. So this was quite a ways ago. I was only 21 at the time. And I was like, I just can't. And I have not watched an episode since. I have found myself, at that point, I was doing it kind of intuitively as well, is like really like starting to hedge out a lot of music, a lot of shows, movies, different things like that I'm like, this just does not make me feel good. And I was recognizing that the vibration that just watching these experiences happen was creating an emotional shift in me. So we oftentimes, especially when your root chakra is off, you will want to watch, you really enjoy violence and sex on TV. Because usually violence, war, those types of things, there's this sense of, usually there's a polarity, right? You have to pick a side. There's loyalty, there's connection, there's community, and you're doing something that's very, very primal. You're protecting, right? So it's all of these things that the root chakra is. And then obviously sex, like that is something that makes us feel very much it can make us feel very like out of body, but it is truly a internal experience. It is truly a physical experience. So it's also very grounding. And it's really, really great for the sacral chakra. Those lower chakras are the densest of the frequencies. So of course, if you're overthinking, overanalyzing, always in your head, you have a lot going on, maybe you're wearing a badge of busy, you're doing all this stuff, of course you would want to watch those things, okay? Because it helps to balance your energy. But then what are you doing? You're creating an emotional experience of war, rape, abuse, neglect, of murder, all these different things. You're then taking it in. The physical body doesn't know the difference. The energetic body doesn't know the difference between something that is really happening and something that you're just viewing as, entertainment, so to speak. And so it's internalizing all of these experiences. So begin to actually pay attention. How do you actually operate in day-to-day life? What are some of the shows that you watch? What are some of the behaviors? Like, do you find yourself, if overgiving is normal for you, you probably don't know that you do it. If people pleasing is normal for you and you feel, you recognize it, because there are times when you feel taken advantage of, walked all over, but you're like, I don't know how to be any different. This is where a healer can be really beneficial, because essentially as a healer, what I do is act as a mirror. We kind of start to look at, okay, so these are some of the things that you're doing, and it's in a non-judgmental, safe space for you to be into kind of this self-exploration of, why am I attracting these experiences into my life? One thing that I really found very interesting, if you haven't listened to any of the podcasts, or you don't follow me on Instagram at Shalane Carter, then you may not know this, but I am currently enrolled in a PhD program for natural medicine. The school that I'm going to is all based in quantum physics and really rooted in energy medicine. And I wrote this down because I was like, oh, this is so genius, because it, again, when we think about attracting disease and different things like that into our bodies, when we think about a lot of the rise in autoimmune diseases, the rise in, we have more things to diagnose now than ever before, but more than I can't remember the statistic right off the top of my head, but I want to say it's like right around 75% of the nation is essentially like functional but not healthy. They are experiencing chronic pain, joint pain, autoimmune diseases, rashes, inflammatory stuff, depression, anxiety. They're on something. And they're on something that they feel like they need to be something, or they're seeing some doctors and they're like, I can't figure out what's wrong with you. And they're like, 75%. That's a huge, I'm almost 100%. It is quite high. I want to say, don't quote me, because I'm not 100% sure that it is 75%, but I'm like 99% sure it's 75%. But one of the things that they talked about, and it says, he says, we pick up on other people's frequencies. When we radiate positive mental health, we influence others in that same way. Being that we are a society that is obsessed with disorder and disease, it is no wonder that we perpetuate more disharmony and more disease. If you want to change your health, if you want to change your life, find people who radiate positive energy. Soak it up. He didn't say soak it up. I added that. But really what he's saying there is, you get to a point in your life that you're like, okay, I have attracted all of it. I recognize like there's patterns, right? It's like you're always picking the same like toxic partner. You always have kind of the same friend dynamics. You're always kind of that friend, right? Or you have a role within your family dynamic. And you're like, this doesn't feel like me. And start to look at ways in which this circle really supports some of this disharmony. We are a society that is obsessed with disease. Okay, we never focus on health. We just focus on getting rid of the problems, which is why we have this society that is hyper-focused on medications and disorders and labeling everything, right? So then we come back to the words. Well, when you say, I have anxiety, that begins to pigeonhole you and tag you with all of these things that you think anxiety looks like or should be. You start to look for things that aren't there because you've been tagged this, you've been labeled this. Instead, start to shift. If you notice you're having an anxious moment, call it what it is. I'm having an anxious moment. I'm feeling a little anxious right now. It's okay to address those emotions that are happening and not begin to tether and tie yourself identifying with them. I am blah, blah, blah well, not the blah, blah, blah part, but I am is a very powerful statement. What it does is it signals to the ego, signals to the self that identifies with things that is necessary for living here on earth. It begins to signal to it, hey, this is part of who you are. Do you want to be that label? Do you want to be the cancer patient? Well, then stop talking about your cancer story to everybody who will listen. Not to say don't share those pieces of you, but you're so heavily identified with these labels, with a disorder, with finding some place that you fit in and you can talk about it and people are like, yes, then at some point you forget that that's not who you are, right? You are not anxiety. You are not cancer. That is an experience that you're having. And just like you cultivated an energetic field that attracted those kinds of experiences, right? Held on to, people are like, how do you attract cancer, right? It's just abnormal cell growth that multiplies and the body stops, getting rid of these abnormal cells. So you have abnormal cells all the time. Your body, when it's properly functioning, gets rid of them. Why does it stop doing that? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody knows why half the probably more than half of the autoimmune diseases that are now a label, why they happen. Like, I don't know, your body's just attacking itself. You can't really explain it. It could be hereditary, it could be environmental. What if it's a combination? What if it's because you have these beliefs that are conditioned to you from birth to about the time you're 7 years old? And all of those words, all of those beliefs carry a frequency. And then that frequency is similar to cancer, similar to an autoimmune disease, similar to whatever. And so you begin to find yourself in these dynamics that would support and hold this same frequency. And that's how it happens. So looking at your healing journey, the beautiful thing about that is you have free will and agency. You have the free will to choose differently. You have the free will to shift your frequency. The easiest ways to do that, one, gratitude. You're not watching this on video. I am wearing a shirt that says grateful. I just pointed to it. Spending time in true gratitude, actually feeling it in your body. Okay? Another way to do that is meditation. Okay? Start by giving yourself something to focus on. I like silent meditation where you focus on your breath. That can be very grounding and also help to begin to identify the thought cycles that happen in your mind. I also like mantra meditation. So this will be using the I am statement to facilitate change, to begin to identify with a different frequency. I am healthy. I am, wealthy. I don't know, whatever you want, whatever. But, I am vibrant and full of life. It can be whatever. Another thing is yoga. Yoga is geniusly designed to actually balance, to eliminate energy that is not yours by specific movements using breath to facilitate change in frequency in your chakra system. So it is specifically designed to balance from your root all the way up to your crown. It's probably part of the reason why I really love Ashtanga yoga is when I look at how the sequence is built, it is built literally like root, sacral, solar plexus, heart, third eye, crown. Like you end with headstands and back bends, throat opening. It's wild how accurate it is for cleansing the vital body, the energetic body. So you're addressing yourself on several levels. You're addressing yourself on your beliefs. You're addressing yourself on your thoughts. You're addressing yourself on your vital level, your energetic level. So this is like pranayama, breath work, yoga, acupuncture, acupressure. All of those are kind of in that vital energetic space. And then also your physical body. So then what you eat, all the live foods have vital life force. They're all alive. They all utilize air, water, all of those things that your body needs, as well as having obviously minerals and vitamins within them to help support you. But they literally have life force energy. Start eating more fruits and vegetables. Start doing it. Ground your energy. Connect with nature. Do things that are creative. All of these things really help to facilitate and shift your vibration pretty easily. And those are things that you can do every day, right? This thing that we attract these experiences, you can begin to attract something different today, right now. It doesn't have to be, okay, once I've meditated for, did the 30-day meditation challenge. No, it can literally be right this moment because you choose to experience life differently, because you choose to stop associating with things. Sometimes that means that people jobs, places are going to have to fall away. And that's where I would say the biggest challenge is for most people, is letting go of what you've identified with for so long. It's like, it's the devil that you know, right? It's much more comfortable than the devil that you don't. Choose the devil that you don't. That's not a devil. It's going to bring you so much more joy and peace and stuff like that when you begin to shift your vibration into a higher vibration and get rid of the low vibrational energy that is actually calling negative experiences into your life. So those are a few simple things. Meditation, right? Get outside, yoga, eat whole foods, real foods that are actually grown in the earth, not created in a plant or that aren't made, right? They are grown. Drink more water, connect with people, hug. These aren't crazy things, and it's totally doable for you to change your frequency right now, to change the experience that you're calling into your life. If you have more questions, if you're like, how the hell am I going to do this? Or my issues seem a lot deeper than this, I think I need help. Again, that's what healers are for. Healers are really there to create this mirror for you to be able to explore your potential. Your potential's in there. The healer doesn't create the healing, you create the healing. But the creative process, the collaborative process, it's actually proven that anytime there is an experience where people are working together, it is actually more likely to be successful and more fruitful. The same goes in healing. If you have two people with the intention to heal versus one, huge difference, right? And it helps to hold that frequency, because when one maybe falters a little bit, the other one picks it up, right? Always trying to get to that 100 top of the line fill. So if you have moments where you're like, okay, I think I need some help, please reach out to me. For the rest of this, should release at the end of 2021. For the rest of the year, I will not be hosting any group programs, and I don't really anticipate doing any group programs anytime soon. So this will all be one-on-one. When I say group programs, I mean like online. For right now, there are lots of ways to work with me. If you have questions about healing, I'm doing all sorts of different things. If you're a Las Vegas local, please reach out. Lots of fun things coming your way. But for right now, I really feel called to do a lot of one-on-one work and really help you to raise your frequency, you to shift your vibration, for this to be truly an individual process right now for a lot of people, because I feel like a lot of people right now are needing a lot of support as we're collectively experiencing this kind of shift. And with that comes the uncomfortability of the shift, this integration process. Lucky for you, I've been doing it a long time, so the kind of uncomfortability doesn't feel quite as uncomfortable for me, so I can definitely help guide you through that and walk you through some of your beliefs. If you're like, I don't know what my beliefs are, like, how did I get here? Then the healing sessions are for you. So you can always just reach out. I have all sorts of like packages and different things like that. So please don't hesitate to reach out. You can always, again, please leave a review if you liked the podcast, the YouTube episode, or wherever you're watching. Please, it really does help ratings, and it helps me to know who's listening. So share it, with your friends. And if you feel like there's even a snippet in this episode that somebody could use, please share it with them. We all need more healing. We all need to embody more of our higher selves to really bring this frequency and make it the new norm. So until next time, cheers, you guys.